want you to hear from 4 different people that have 4 different personalities, 4 different areas of influence, 4 different circles of life that they roam in, so to speak. And I want you to hear how, as they go in the process of making disciples, of how that plays out in their life. And so I'm going to invite Jeremy and Wade and Kelly and Leah to come and just have a seat in one of these chairs. And I'm just going to ask them just a few general. You can go ahead and come on in. Don't be shy. Don't be bashful. I'm putting them on the spot. I'm making them sweat. Hey, at least I didn't call you guys at 2:30 in the morning. Some of them are saying, no, you caught me at the door like 5 minutes before you got to speak. Now, and you guys will have to take the microphone and speak into it. It's not sensitive enough to pick you up, so you may have to pass it around. But let me go, and I'll tell you, I'll just jump in. I'll start with Jeremy down here because he's got the shortest hair. And I'll start with Jeremy down here. And Jeremy, can you just share with us a little bit? I'm going to ask some very similar questions. Where do you find yourself sharing the most? Sharing your faith the most? What area of life?
I find myself sharing my faith mostly with people that we meet in the community, that we befriend as a family. As we get to know them in the parks or ball games in our neighborhood, as we invite them in to befriend our family, our kids, and learning about their families. That's where it seems that I get to share.
Okay. All right. Very good. And your kids are the ones that are typically playing the ball games, or you and your wife as well?
Both.
Oh, okay. Let me jump over to Wade. Wade, where do you find yourself sharing?
I find, for me, most of this has been living at work. I try to take the opportunities whenever they arise, wherever that may be, whether it be to see store, at work, with family. Both my wife and I both have some family, and so, but work lately has been a problem in this place.
All right. Leah, what about you?
Well, I find that I share the most at work as well. Work with teenage girls that are troubled, I guess, to say the least, and a lot of the staff who as well want to make a difference with the kids but don't necessarily make it in the name of Christ. And so I get to share with the teen girls and the other staff.
Okay. Kelly?
For me, it's mainly people from work, but usually not at work because it's not really an environment where I can do that. And so usually it's a place where I'm out for coffee with them, or I'm invited someone to my house, and so more of a one-on-one thing where I have to do outside of work.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So work, ball fields, outside of coffee shops, things of that nature. And while these folks are talking, think about yourself. And if you're not involved in sharing your faith with others, think about where would it be good for you in that environment. Let me jump back over to Leah and ask her this question. One of the things that I find that's challenging is sometimes making that transition in conversation. So it's like, so your kids are playing ball today. How do I make that transition from children to Jesus? And I want it to be a little bit better, a little bit smoother than so you got this new job. Well, what do you think about Jesus? I want it to be a little bit. I want it to be more natural. So how does that work? How do you turn that corner, so to speak, in conversation to make it a natural?
Well, usually when I feel like I can share the best or the easiest is when either the teens or the staff are kind of in a despair type mode. If they're feeling hopeless or they're feeling worn down or angry maybe or sad, just talking with them about the hope that Christ can provide. And so I just kind of transition from being hopeful in life to how can that happen? Just finding, I guess, like not the hope within yourself, but what Christ can provide through finding faith in Him.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you that same question. How do you make it a natural transition? As you're sitting at the coffee shop.
I think there's 2 key things, and one of them for me is prayer, because a lot of times I know ahead of time I'm going to be meeting with that person, and so if I have taken the time to pray for them, then it just, for me, it's more natural, because then I know a way that I can really love on them and show them that I love them, and because I've been praying about it, I've been thinking about it. And then the other thing is just starting off by focusing on my own experiences and my own relationship with the Lord, and then that oftentimes will transfer over to them asking me deeper questions, and then me being able to share how it can apply or affect their life.
Okay. You mentioned prayer. true confessions, I guess. Yeah, I try to go back to regular places of business, especially like getting haircuts and things like that, for the sake of being intentional on the things we talked about, building relationships with people. And one day I pulled in to get my haircut, and I don't like getting a haircut anymore, but I have to get it done so I look like a hippie. So anyhow, I pull into this place, and I really just, I had to stop and I said, Lord, my zeal right now is just God, forgive me, but help me to be sensitive to your spirit and to listen and watch where your spirit is working in my conversation. I pray that you may open up an opportunity for me to share. I go in and I sit in the chair, and this lady's cutting my hair, and she's already grumpy. Hasn't it? Great. This isn't going anywhere. And oh, you little faith. And so, in the process of talking to me about some of her problems, she says, "Oh yeah, by the way, I was at Bible study last night, and so it's going to be a better day today." And she went on to give a couple minutes. So right there it is, Bible study. And so I came back to the conversation. I said, "Well, Bible study." I said, "Are you a part of the church?" And I said, "No." And I asked her the question. I said, "Are you a follower of Jesus, or are you kind of searching right now and seeking after Him?" She stopped and she said, She said, "I guess I'm kind of searching right now." Great opportunity. The conversation just took off from there. So prayer is so important. Let me jump over to Jeremy. How do you make that natural turn in the conversation?
Well, first of all, I like to really press in to people. They a lot of times in getting to know people would like to hold you at a distance. I like to press in, take a genuine interest in their life, maybe find where they might be wounded or desperate or hopeless, find out what they're trusting in or leaning on. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times I just ask a simple question like, do you have any interest in spiritual things? And kind of test the water there to see if God is already at work.
And that's a good question to ask, because today that's a very benign question. It's not, do you love Jesus? It's do you have an interest in spiritual things? And that spirituality is all over the place today. It's very appropriate to talk about spirituality and things like that. I'll share with you just a second another personal story, but to go from there and see how it unfolds. And typically, you'll find out very quickly where people are if you ask them that question. Wade, how about you? How does this become natural in your conversation?
Probably one of the biggest things that's been a help for that, a book by Steve Sogren, Irresistible Evangelism, talks about how evangelism also is often like a golf game, and I like golf, and so that really helped me out in just thinking that every contact I have with someone can move them closer to the gospel. And so that it's not always, because I was one of those kids, I grew up in the church, and so it was always like, man, I should go door to door, and I should be like taking tracts everywhere, and I should be doing all this stuff, and not just hardcore evangelism. And so I really had to shed a lot of that and learn that it may just be simply saying to someone, they're talking the other day, a lady was talking about how her 16-year-old daughter, 15-year-old daughter was awful, and how her daughter hated her, and all this stuff. And I was just simple as, how can I pray for you today? I'll be praying for you as you go about your day. I hope it goes better for you. And so that's one way, but then also just really looking for what is it that Christ fulfills. I remember when I was working at Bath & Body Works, there was a young lady I was talking with, and she was talking about relationships that had failed and how she'd been so hurt in those relationships, and was able to transition into the gospel by just talking about how Christ is that relationship that won't fail. And then was able to go into the gospel through that. And so trying to figure out and looking at all the ways that Christ is presented in the scriptures, and then trying to find out where it may be for those people, whether it be the need for hope, the need for fulfillment in relationships, whether it be for just reconciliation with people. There's just so many different ways that Christ is presented, and so trying to find those and then use those to connect with the person.
Very, very good. I hope this has been just helpful, just briefly hearing from these folks up here about some practical things that they're doing as they go, intentionality, binding and loosing. And, it makes me think about a time, kind of going back to what Jeremy said just a moment ago, the whole question about spiritual issues. I was on a flight coming back from Chicago. There's a lady that's sitting next to me. I always pray for people around me. The Lord may open up an opportunity for me to talk to them about Jesus and how He's changed my life and how He can change their life. And so, into this flight, she's no conversation, no nothing. So coming into Louisville, and all of a sudden she just started talking. Now this doesn't always happen this way, but This time it did, and she just began talking. This was her first time to Kentucky and things of that nature. And I asked her what she did, and she told me, and she said, and then she began to tell me about all these problems. Several years ago, about 20 years ago, I just cried out and just said, I've just got to give it up to you. I've just got to, turn it over. Just can't take all this problem, stress. And that's all she said. And I came back and I said, so when you said that you just called out, were you talking about calling out to God? And she said, oh yeah, she is. And then I sort of began just to ask her about spiritual things, and it just went from there in conversation. Now she did not come to faith, but it was an opportunity to be able to share the good news of Christ. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I'm going to put you on the spot, put you on the hot seat. You're welcome to sit back down.